This is my dog Franklin. He is having a great time right now. We love him so much, but one thing you might not know about him, but you probably know if you have a dog, he can kind of cause a mess. As you can see by everything stuck in his beard, he tracks in a ton of dirt, especially now in the fall where we got leaves everywhere. And this is his area here. This is where he likes to hang out, and it looks pretty good, but if you get nice and close, you can see how much of a mess he causes. So when Dreame reached out and wanted to send over this, the Dreame X40 Ultra, which is an all-in-one robot mop and vacuum system, well, I wanted to give it a shot because right over there is where Franklin lives. So this thing is going to be put to use.
Now, whether you have pets or not, this Dreame X40 Ultra is still going to give you a full package that can really clean no matter where you need it to, and that's specifically because of the few features it has built in. Now, usually when I talk about these robot vacuums, and I talk about them a lot because I think they're really cool, but when I do, I usually break up the videos into a few different segments, usually talking about the vacuum, the mopping system, and some of the smarts. And while the X40 Ultra has all those features, and I'm going to talk about them, the more interesting thing is a little bit deeper than that. To me, the big selling feature, or the reason why I think the X40 Ultra is better than many of the other options out there, is because it's able to extend and reach into places that other robot vacuums can't. And it does that in two different ways, both on the mopping side and on the vacuuming side. Now, on the mopping side, this uses Mop Extend Robo Swing technology, and this basically will be able to extend the mop head out to reach different areas that are harder to get to. So if you're along the edge of a wall, it can swing that out to get right up to the edge so you don't miss anything when mopping. Or if you're going around furniture, it can swing that mop head out to get closer to those legs. This just ensures that when you mop, it will actually mop everything instead of just, kind of trying to get into these certain places. That is a really nice feature that we've seen on some other vacuums in the past, but it's nice to see it here too. Now, what I haven't seen is another area that extends, and this is what they call side reach technology. So all of these types of robot vacuums, pretty much no matter which one you get, have this side brush that kind of helps sweep in debris to the main suction brush that's in the middle of the robot. Just kind of, brings everything in. But that usually never moves. It just spins and brings everything in. This one with side reach technology is able to actually extend outwards to reach into areas it otherwise couldn't. And this is important, especially for corners. So you can see here how it can push that brush into the corner and make sure it gets every single piece of debris. And these tight corners is often where dirt and debris can get trapped because robot vacuums just can't reach them. So that is no longer an issue here. So having the combination of this side reach brush and the Mop Extend mopping system gives you a level of coverage that you don't often see with these types of devices. And really, in day-to-day life, what that means is I have to worry about this less often. I don't have to manually go mop as often or manually vacuum as often because, the robot is missing things. That doesn't happen nearly as often. Instead, I trust and can see that it can actually get into all those nooks and crannies. So, for instance, with Franklin, now I know that under his bed and everything, it's going to get a really good clean rather than me having to move everything and clean it myself. And that confidence doesn't just come from the fact that it can reach out into other areas. It also does clean very well, which is no real surprise here. This is using Omni Dirt detection technology, and basically it uses the RGB camera that's built in to see the world around it and detect what kind of stains are there so that it can decide how best to clean it. So if there's something there, it'll mop it up, and if it needs to go back, it can detect it because it can see the world around it. And along with that, this also has all these smarts built in that you would hope for. So it can detect 80+ objects so it knows what it's seeing. So, if there's shoes in the way or something, it's not going to hit it and, get messed up. It can detect things in the real world so it can get a better clean. And of course, in the app, it'll map your home using its LiDAR and camera system so that you can set different zones and tell it where to go and where not to, or tell it to clean in the kitchen, for example, in certain ways. This is a big reason I use it because the kitchen just seems to get dirty a lot easier than some other places in the house. And then once it's done cleaning, it'll return to the 7-in-1 base station, and this does a bunch. So first, for the vacuum, which I'm going to talk about in a second, it has a 75-day dust bin built in, so you rarely ever have to replace this. It has automatic water refilling for the mopping system, and if you did just go mop, when it comes back, it's able to use hot water at 158 degrees Fahrenheit to wash those mop heads to make sure they get clean and they're ready for the next use. But not only that, the base station itself is able to clean itself because, you know, when it's washing those mop heads, it can get a little grimy in the base station with all the stuff it's picked up, but this is able to wash itself so that it's clean all the time. And then once it does that, it's able to dry those mop heads so that they're ready for your next use. Plus, if you really want to take it to the next step, this has a hookup system, so you can hook this to your water supply so that you never have to refill the water, which is pretty cool. Now, speaking of the vacuum, this is one of the most powerful I've seen in a vacuum like this. This has 12,000 pascals of suction, which is a ton. And really the most effective way to use this, or why this number matters, is because it's going to effectively clean not only your hardwoods or, you know, tiles or anything like that, which is pretty easy for these robots, honestly. You know, picking up dust or pet hair, you know, Franklin's debris that he brings in, all of that is pretty easy for really any robot vacuum. But when you get to carpet, then that's where some of these can start to struggle. You want that suction. And not only for that, for picking up bigger debris, that's where that suction comes in handy. So you can see that it's easily picking up these pretty large chunks of dog food. And kind of going along with that, if you live somewhere where hair is an issue, this is what you want to get, because I live with my wife and there seems to be just hair everywhere. Luckily, like I said, Franklin doesn't shed, so it doesn't really be an issue, but maybe you do have a dog that does shed, so hair is just a problem. Well, Dreame has their anti-tangle tri-cut brush that you can purchase and put into this robot. And basically what this brush does is, instead of the hair getting tangled around it, it will go around and actually cut itself off and then get sucked into the vacuum, so it's no longer an issue. Hair is probably one of the biggest culprits of needing to maintain these types of products, not just robot vacuums, but really any vacuum. Those brushes always seem to be an issue, but with this, it helps quite a bit.
So Franklin loves having this thing here because it kind of hides all the mess he causes. But really, we love it because it works so well. It has a ton of great features. So if you want to go check this thing out, buy one for yourself, I'll leave all the links down below along with all of the discount codes and sales that are going on because it's that time of year. So be sure to check them out. I know Franklin is happy to have this thing, and so am I.